This is Deuteronomy chapter 12 and verse 9, and it reads, "For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which the Lord your God giveth you." I want to start off by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah, and a sincere salutation to all you Akim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath who will believe in this word in all truth and in sincerity. Yahweh is the name of the one they ignorantly call God. Yahweh Shai is the name of the one they ignorantly call Jesus. Bahashem is in the name. Rakah is spirit. Kodash is holy. Akyam is brothers. Akwath is sisters. Shalom means peace. And Yasher Allah is Israel in ancient Paleo-Hebrew. All right, I'd like to go into a lesson based on this article, which says, what is the great wealth transfer and who will it benefit from, or Salakia, and who will benefit from it? All right, I want to read, let's read the first few paragraphs, but this is basically going into the wealth transfer of the baby boomers to their descendants. And when I talk about the baby boomers, it's basically Edomites, all right, who were able to capitalize on the wealth that they gained after World War II. They're going to pass that wealth down to their descendants in their family line. All right, now I want to go into that through the spirit, and I also want to point to a spiritual aspect of the inheritance, because our inheritance is spiritual. All right, so let's continue. It says, a financial research and consulting firm forecasts that in the next 25 years, 124 trillion will be passed down from older to younger generations. Those inheritances will be largely concentrated within already wealthy families. All right. And this is important through the spirit. You know, this is why, brothers bring out articles like this, because our people have this delusion, right, that things are going to get better. That eventually the score will be even. We'll get a bunch of jobs, or we'll pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, and then we'll also have a seat at the wealth table. And that's just not realistic. That is a delusion that Esau purposely puts in our people's minds to make them believe that there's a chance. All right, let's continue. All right, now keep this in mind. It says those inheritances will be largely concentrated within already wealthy families. All right, it says economists and financial planners are all excited about the upcoming great wealth transfer, a huge movement of wealth from one generation to another. But the beneficiaries are likely to be concentrated at the top of the income spectrum, and some who expect to inherit could be in for an unpleasant surprise. All right, so you have to keep in mind that Edomites have been able to accumulate wealth. All right, wealth isn't necessarily based on income. It's really based on assets, and it's based on inheritance. It's unnatural for you to be born into a family that has nothing for you to work with or build upon. And that goes back to the curses. Let's actually go to that. All right, so we're going to go to Deuteronomy chapter 28, and I'm going to jump down. Let's get the point. Salakia, bear with me. All right, this is Deuteronomy 28:65, and it reads, "And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. But the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life." Inheritance gives you a certain level of insurance and security. All right. This is why when you deal with Negro, Latino, and Native American communities, when you talk to a Jake, they starting from the bottom. That's not just a song. That's literally the average Negro, Latino, or Native American in this society. And that's unnatural, which shows you it goes back to the curses, that you have nothing to pass down, that you have nothing to build on. You're actually coming into the world, and you're born into the world on negative. And again, it goes back to the curses, whether our people choose to acknowledge that or not. Meanwhile, Esau, he's been able to build wealth. So even while you have a lot of Edomites sighing and crying about what their elites are doing to them, the average household of an Edomite is still around 200,000 concerning wealth, because it's not just based on income. They may make 80,000 a year, but they may have inherited $100,000 in a house or $100,000 through a life insurance policy. So a lot of times, if you look at income, Esau put that out there to throw people off, to make it look like people are catching up. But in reality, that's not the case. All right. Wealth isn't determined by income. It's based on really assets, and assets can only be accumulated through generational wealth. That's not something you do in one generation. That's just some shit that these jakes use to sell courses. There's no way to fast track generational wealth. It starts with a generation before you or two generations before you, and it's passed down every generation bigger than they received it, if that makes sense. So the Lord is telling us about an inheritance that we will possess that transcends this game that's being played with fiat currency. But it's important to bring these articles out because our people are stubborn through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, and they don't see the writing on the wall. Now, I want to read this in the NLT. Deuteronomy 28:65 in the NLT reads, "There among those nations you will find no peace or place to rest, and the Lord will cause your heart to tremble, your eyesight to fail, and your soul to despair. Your life will constantly hang in the balance. You will live night and day in fear, unsure if you will survive." And that is the reality of the majority of our people. Even the ones who are so-called at the top, they are not wealthy. All right. They are rich, but they are not wealthy. All right. Let's go to this. This is Proverbs 10 and 22. And it reads, "The blessing of the Lord, it maketh rich, and he addeth no sorrow with it." And the reason I bring this out is because our people have an idea of what success looks like. And the reality is that true wealth does not cause you to be away from your family the majority of the months out of the year, like a basketball player or a baseball player. It doesn't require you to wake up early, 4:30 in the morning to shoot jump shots, or to stay in the studio for 16 hours a day, hoping to make another hit to keep this lifestyle going. That is trouble. All right. That is rich with trouble, with sorrow. All right. Let's get the Hebrew word for sorrow. All right. It says pain, hurt, toil, sorrow, labor, hardship. So when you think about what comes to mind when you think about successful Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, really it's associated with labor, hardship, toil, pain, hurt, hardship, because ultimately it's not true wealth. And this is why Yahweh Shah talked about that consolation that they've received. All right. And the consolation really goes back to a prize given to losers, because even in this society, the ones who make that type of money, they still don't have the same access, because there is a difference between having money and actually having access. This is why Esau isn't fazed by giving some Jake $1 billion, because he knows that Jake doesn't have access. There's a difference. And he also knows that the riches that Jake will possess is going to come with labor and hardship. And eventually the curses are going to kick in. And as the scriptures say, curse shalt thou be coming in and curse shalt thou be coming out. All right. Matter of fact, let's go to that. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 19. And it reads, "Cursed shalt thou be when thou comest in, and cursed shalt thou be when thou goest out." Verse 19 in the NLT says, "Wherever you go and whatever you do, you will be cursed." Now, make no mistake, we still have to labor, and the Lord takes care of us, through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai. But as far as being truly wealthy, that will not happen on this side. That is the reality. Esau has hoarded all the resources, and until that transfer happens through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shema Shai, we will not have wealth or an inheritance, which is important. because the Lord talks about an inheritance. That inheritance is not a reality on this side. All right. Now, I want to go back to this article because, again, our people have this notion that we just get enough good jobs. We just hire enough of our own people, start enough businesses, and we can somehow extract the wealth that is in the hands of these Edomites. Not realizing you don't really have a resource that they could even buy from you. Even our people's plans are vain, and they won't consider Yahweh Shema Shai. All right, so let's go here. It says more than 120 trillion in assets will pass from older Americans to their heirs and favorite charities over the next 25 years. All right, now that's talking about the carnal wealth, right? But the scriptures talk about the heirs of a different inheritance. All right. Matter of fact, let's get that. Because when you deal with Galatians, the 3rd chapter in particular, Paul is explaining that the reason that these Israelites that were in a Greek state of mind, that were being called Gentiles, are able to come back through the Spirit of the Lord is because there was an inheritance promised to us as a nation of people. And a part of that inheritance is the mercy that the Lord is showing through grace. And no matter what those Israelites were in, whether it was the Greek way of living, the Persian way of living, if they were repentant, they could come back because of this promise. All right, now let's get it. This is Galatians chapter 3. And for context, right, I'm going to start up. Let's start at 17. And this I say, that the covenant that was confirmed before of Yahweh in Hamashiach, the law which was 430 years after, cannot disannul that it should make the promise of none effect. For if the inheritance be of the law, it is no more of promise. But Yahweh Shema Shai gave it to Abraham by promise, which means the Israelites stand as the inheritors of that promise. So I'm showing through the Spirit the inheritance that Esau possesses in a carnal form, while also going into how the Lord is talking about an inheritance throughout the scriptures, contrary to what Christianity is trying to bring up as a narrative. The heirs to the promise are Israelites. And this is what Paul is saying, that, look, before we were given the law on Mount Sinai, the Lord made a promise to Abraham, and it was passed down to Isaac, it was passed down to Jacob, and to the children of Israel. And the law itself and the breaking of the law cannot disannul that promise or make the Lord a liar. So the Lord created a way for the mercy to be extended for us to receive that inheritance. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. And this is why Paul ends it like this. Galatians 3 and 28. There is neither Jew nor Greek. There is neither bond nor free. There is neither male nor female. For ye are all one in Hamashiach Yahweh Shai. And if ye be Hamashiachs, then are ye Abraham's seed and heirs according to the promise. All right, because there was a separation between the Jew and the Greek. And that Greek is talking about those Israelites who adopted those Greek customs. But they are still able to receive the inheritance through the mercy of the Lord because they're still Israelites. And the promise was given to us as a nation of people. So we're watching one inheritance, the carnal one, and then we're looking at the overall eternal inheritance, which is what the Lord has given us as a nation of people, beginning with the elect, under the one they ignorantly call Jesus, whose name is Yahweh Shai. All right, this is 1 Corinthians chapter 9 and verse 25. And it reads, and every man that striveth for the mastery is temperate in all things. Now they do it to obtain a corruptible crown, but we an incorruptible. In the NLT, it says all athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. Because when you look at Jake and what they're chasing in this life and what they're putting by concerning the service of Yahweh Shema Shai, they're chasing something that is going to fade away. All right, the fashion of this world fadeth away. But by this truth, and through this truth, through the Spirit and power of Bashim Shah, we understand that there's an eternal blessing. There's an actual rest. What our people call success is really a mirage. It's a fake form of rest, because it's not really rest. You have Edomites who are worth trillions of dollars as a family. You can pick one of those family members and they could walk past you in Costco's and you'd never know who they were. That is true wealth. They're born into a family where they don't have to work. They don't have to care what they're going to do with their life. They can literally do whatever they want. That is true wealth. That is true rest. This is why the Lord, again, said this in Deuteronomy 12:9. It says, "For ye are not as yet come to the rest and to the inheritance which the Lord your God giveth you," because our inheritance is going to be eternal. Lord willing, we be a part of that number. And even as a nation of people, 2/3, they're going to have to learn this lesson through death by pain. But as the scriptures say, all Israel shall be saved. Because again, it was given to our forefather Abraham as a promise. And we've inherited that promise. All right, this is Romans 9:4. And it reads, "Who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of God and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh Hamashiach came, who is over all, God bless forever. Amen." All right, so you're seeing that even with our people's carnal imagination about the future, it's not realistic. All right. They're pointing this out in this article, and this article came out this month, how the great wealth transfer of 120 trillion assets is going to basically be passed down to families that are already rich. That is the true definition of generational wealth. This is wealth that was built post-World War, meaning right after World War II. That's when that generational wealth started, and it accumulated up to 120 trillion. That is a true form or a true example of generational wealth. It's not something you do in one generation. It's something that's built over multiple generations. Your great-great-great-granddaddy started with 50, and then the next generation doubled it. That is generational wealth. Now, on the right-hand side, through the Spirit, us as a nation of people, we have an inheritance that can't be counted. And it was already what it was when the Lord promised Abraham what he promised him. And we've just been waiting through the Spirit to inherit it. And we've fallen short time and time again. But the mercy of the Lord is allowing the children of Israel to receive that inheritance through Yahweh Shai, all right, who is described as that mediator of a better covenant. Let's go back to Galatians 3. All right, because this is the conversation. The real conversation is when you deal with the New Testament, as Paul is talking about these Gentiles who are really Israelites who still can receive mercy. That was the whole situation with the prodigal son. There was two brothers in the same family. One of them wanted their inheritance early and they went out and blew it. But they came back and their father accepted them because, again, let's get that. You know what? Let's do it. I believe it's Slakia. I believe it's 30. This is Luke chapter 15 and verse 11. And the reason he said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portion of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country, and there wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me as one of thy hired servants. And he rose and came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck and kissed him. Now, this is pointing out the Israelites that were in a Greek state of fashion, that were referred to as Gentiles, all right, in the New Testament concerning salvation. They had went off, and now they were returning. But they were returning to their family. It wasn't another nation of people coming to someone else's family. This was a brother in the family. And that's the Gentiles that can receive salvation in a nutshell. All right. When you deal with the New Testament, it's Israelites who went off into a far country, went off concerning culture, but repented. And they were returning back to their inheritance, because a part of that inheritance is mercy. All right, let's continue. Verse 21, and it reads, and the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. And that's brothers, through the Spirit, Lord willing, we be a part of that number. You acknowledge your offense and you realize that we were living in a lifestyle that wasn't pleasing to the Lord. Just like when you deal with Acts, when you deal with the New Testament, it was Israelites who came to themselves and understood, oh man, I've been going off. And they were returning, but they were returning to Israelites who were keeping the customs that said you can't come back. This is why Paul describes his ministry as the ministry of reconciliation. It's a reconcile of the same family, because the inheritance is still the inheritance. The promise is still the promise, and it's still given to the nation of Israel. Even now, the mercy is being offered, but we know according to prophecy, 2/3 of our people will not accept the mercy. They have to learn this through death by pain. And the mercy of the Lord is ultimately going to cover them, because they're coming back as the children of the elect. Because again, this promise was given to Abraham, our forefather. And the Lord is not a man that he should lie. And this is why no other nation is involved in this. This is a family affair concerning inheritance. So while we're watching Esau preparing himself to pass down the wealth that started in World War II to his Edomite descendants, another wealth transfer is happening. And that's all things under Yahweh's feet. All right, let's go here. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 10 and verse 8. And it reads, because of unrighteous dealings, injuries, and riches got by deceit, the kingdom is translated from one people to another. So all of that substance, the $120 trillion worth of assets, is ultimately going to be passed to the nation of Israel under Yahweh, because it's ultimately Yahweh's kingdom. And the nation of Israel is joint heirs under him. Which is beautiful when you look at it, because this is the ultimate inheritance. I want to read this real quick. All right, continuing, it says the benefactors are primarily baby boomers, transferring some of the substantial wealth many accumulated in the post-World War II economic boom and from stock and real estate appreciation in recent decades. And the reason I'm bringing that part out is because what Esau will do in the news and in the media is trick Jake into thinking that they're not working hard enough. Trick Jake into thinking that they're a failure because they don't have the same things, without telling our people that the reason those Edomites are able to live that way is because of generations before they even got here. And while they may have a job and while they may have to go to school and graduate, they're not going to tell you about what was passed down unto them. Because that's the reality. This is why the average so-called white household is around 200,000 when you deal with wealth, not income. We're talking wealth. That is the reality. And without having that wealth transfer, there's no light at the end of the tunnel for our people. And our people don't realize that. The average household of Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans is between 30, and some will say 50,000 compared to 200,000 on average. And that gap is only going to increase when this wealth transfer happens. But the comfort that we have through the Spirit is that the Lord is going to restore us. All right. So as we were downtrodden in this society, the Lord is going to heal us, as the scriptures say. All right. So I'll probably end it with this. This is Jeremiah chapter 33. And I'm going to jump down to verse 6. And it reads, "Behold, I will bring it health and cure, and I will cure them, and will reveal unto them the abundance of peace and truth. And I will cause the captivity of Judah, the southern kingdom, and the captivity of Israel, the northern kingdom, to return, and will build them as at the first. And I will cleanse them from all their iniquity, whereby they have sinned against me. And I will pardon all their iniquities, whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed against me." And this is the mercy that's being received by the Gentiles in the New Testament. Is based on this promise that the Lord made concerning prophecy. I'm going to read that again. Verse 8 says, "And I will cleanse them from all their iniquity, whereby they have sinned against me. And I will pardon all their iniquities, whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed against me. And it shall be to me a name of joy, a praise and an honor before all the nations of the earth, which shall hear all the good that I do unto them. And they shall fear and tremble for all the goodness and for all the prosperity that I procure unto it." Man. Matter of fact, let's go here. Let's go to Isaiah 61. And I'll jump down to verse 7. And it reads, "For your shame ye shall have double, and for confusion they shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them." Because the Lord is talking about a wealth transfer from family to family, from Esau to Jacob. But he begins with Yahushua. Because we've been taught wealth and the idea of money on your mom and your dad and your sisters and your cousins. That is bigger than that. When you deal with these elites, the Rockefellers, the Gettys, the elite families, their entire family is under one umbrella. Their entire family is sharing a wealth pot of trillions of dollars. This is what the Lord is telling us about an inheritance is being taken from Esau, and it's going to be given unto Jacob, who it was prophesied to land to, which makes us, Lord willing, we be a part of that number, the inheritors or heirs of the promise. But what did the Lord say before we could receive that? All right, this is Galatians chapter 4 and verse 1. "Now I say that the heir, as long as he is a child, differeth nothing from a servant, though he be Lord of all, but is under tutors and governors until the time appointed of the Father." All right. And what does that time involve? It involves the kingdom being given unto Israel under Yahushua. All right. Because ultimately it's the Lord's kingdom. All right. And we are little brothers in the situation, little G's. But it belongs to Yahushua. Yahushua is the firstborn. He gets the greater portion. But even when you deal with the inheritance, the firstborn gets the greater portion, but the other sons do get a portion. So it's beautiful through the Spirit that the Lord has set this up for us to have an inheritance that will never be taken away, that will never be taken down. All right. Matter of fact, let's get this. Before I get Isaiah 61 again, I want to get Daniel chapter 2. Because it said the kingdom will not be left to other people. It said that for a reason. All right, this is Daniel chapter 2 and verse 44. "And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed, and the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever." And that's prophecy. All right, the real great wealth transfer is about to happen. Not the one with the baby boomers, but something completely different. Like it says in 2nd Esdras, the 6th chapter, the 9th verse, Esau is the end of the world. Jacob is the beginning of it that followeth. That word for world is age. Esau's age is coming to an end, and Jacob's age is going to begin after that, and it will never be taken down. All right, this is Isaiah 61. Again, and I want to jump to let's get verse 5. It says, "And strangers shall stand and feed your flocks, and the sons of the alien shall be your plowmen and your vine dressers. But ye shall be named the priest of the Lord. Men shall call you the ministers of our God. Ye shall eat the riches of the Gentiles, and in their glory shall ye boast yourselves." Now in the NLT, Isaiah 61:6 reads, "You will be called priests of the Lord, ministers of our God. You will feed on the treasures of the nations and boast in their riches." That is the true wealth transfer. All right. And I'll jump down. And it's not just wealth. It's also going to be reputation. Our reputation is going to be restored in the earth with Yahweh's arrival. All right. Then it shall be known, that we are truly through the Spirit, the sons of God. So it's not just going to be substance, but it's also going to be reputation. Our reputation as a nation of people is going to be restored. This is the commonwealth of Israel. The reason Esau can walk around the earth and he don't got to be Donald Trump, but he gets treated like Donald Trump, is because they experience a certain commonwealth, or they did at one point. They don't anymore. The common Edomites are catching hell. But at a certain point, they enjoyed a common benefit of reputation. Just like we suffer from a common judgment based on what Esau's told the world about us. A common reproach, if you will. Whether you got a job or not, if you walk around a Gucci store with a hoodie on, and you could have never broke a law in your life. But if you go into there as a Negro, Latino, Native American with no jewelry on, just a hoodie on, with the hood on, and just walk around the store shopping, Edomites can pull that off. You can't. Why? Because you are under a common, I wouldn't call it a commonwealth, but you're under a common reproach. Esau has a commonwealth of reputation. The world looks at him as the top nation on the earth. So average Edomites benefit from that. Well, in the kingdom, we're all going to benefit from the wealth transfer that the Lord is doing as we speak. Because this knowledge, wisdom, and understanding is really a part of that inheritance. Matter of fact, this is Deuteronomy 33:4, and it reads, "Moses commanded us a law, even the inheritance of the congregation of Jacob." So the law is a part of our inheritance. All right, that light, that wisdom. All right, so let's go back. All right, this is Isaiah 61:9, and it reads, "And their seed shall be known among the Gentiles, and their offspring among the people. All that see them shall acknowledge them, that they are the seed which the Lord hath blessed." All right, and I'm going to read this in the NLT, and I'll end it with this. Isaiah 61:9, "Their descendants will be recognized and honored among the nations. Everyone will realize that they are a people the Lord has blessed." So that is our inheritance. That is what we're waiting for through the Spirit, that great wealth transfer. So with that, I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, who are the elders of Yasher Allah. And a sincere salutation to all Yuakim, who are preaching this word and believing this word, and to the Akwath, who will believe in this word in all truth and in sincerity. Shalom.